it's had an impact, and I believe it can have an impact for all those who visit, and particularly on our Saturday of competition, where we know young people bring back their parents and drag them around and have a great time. But also, how can we tell that story more widely? That parents can also be saying to their young people, you know, there are many ways to choose. There are many ways that lead to success, and I think that's, for me, is the thing about giving that choice, giving that standard, and raising the whole esteem. We're touching on the same themes we've touched on a number of questions here, but I think that's, for me, is the importance of competitions.
Alison?
Let me just tell a story here. We've had 2 of our students being gold medal winners in the recent round of skills competitions. 2 years ago, when we started training our brickwork students and our painting and decorating students for this competition, I went up in the early stages, and they wouldn't even come in to get the awards. They were so unused to having anybody take any notice of their skills whatsoever. And they clustered outside, and I was there to hand out the trowels we bought them and all the prizes we bought them, and they wouldn't come in. Now, because we've had 2 of our students as gold medal winners, they're role models, now the students will come in, and now they will take their awards, and now they do have a sense of pride because they've seen somebody else do it, and they've seen somebody else walk that path. And so those gold medal winners are actually role models back in their own institution for the next generation coming through, and they've raised the esteem and the pride in the craft of those students. So they are an inspiration back at the base, not just nationally.
Adam, what about you? I mean, you were doing cooking. I mean, is that something your parents were happy with? And
well, when I said I was going to be a chef, my mum just turned around, she's a head teacher, and she said, "I don't want you working in some pub." And
Claridge's is all right then.
And I think when I was walking into World Skills and I was in Switzerland behind the Union Jack, I thought, there you go, Mum, I'm not in some pub now. But I did get my own back by saying that I got into cooking as a vindication to working mothers, and that I was a latchkey child, which she got rather upset about. But competitions really offer pure accelerated learning, because somebody has found their passion and they've put themselves forward to put their skills in front of so many. And certainly at the world skills level, you've got to complete probably 300, 400 hours of training on top of your work and your day job and lifestyles to get to the level to put yourself in front of a world stage. And it's also such a great inspiration to those around you, as you were saying, Alison, and a true benchmark of standards. One, you're comparing your industry that you're working in, and you're comparing the world skills standards on a world stage.
Adam, what were your inspirations? I mean, who did you look up to and say, well, actually, I want to do what he or she's doing?
I'd always loved cooking as a child, and I think I looked at people sort of like Gary Rhodes and just the people around me in kitchens. And once I got into it, it was always a thing, I want to make it better than them. And it was always people raising the level, raising the bar. And I think that's where competitions really got my bug, because I think being at school, it was always, who was the best sportsman, who was the best this, and it was all that recognition. And then once I found out that you could represent your country as a chef, I just thought that was fantastic. And I knew I was going to do it. Undoubtedly, I just thought, I will do that. And it was great to achieve that. But more so, fantastic watching others going through and the effect it's had on them that I've worked with in the last few years, since being a competitor myself to working with UK Skills on the bid out in Melbourne. It was fantastic, and then to see it come to London, it's a truly great journey.
I mean, what a common theme that's coming out today is obviously perception of youngsters, perception of girls, boys, and what they should be doing, but as well perception of the parents about what their children should be doing and how they should be encouraged to actually move on in life. And it's not all about academia. And it brings me on to the next question. I think it's is it Michael Craig, sorry. There you go. So I was dyslexic, didn't I?
Yeah, Michael Gregg. I work for City and Guilds. I'm a boy, by the way. Now then.
We're going to believe you.
We were talking about misconceptions and altering perceptions in the world about vocational education and people's futures and what they should be doing. And at the moment, you've got people who demand a degree to get into management roles. You've got universities demanding academic qualifications, access courses, A-levels to get into degrees. Meanwhile, the other side of things, you've got millions of pounds being put into apprenticeships around the world. People are saying, we need more skilled craftspeople, let's have apprenticeships, and this is all over the world. Now, how do you marry up that passion and drive for vocational education, skills, trades, with the world of academia? How do you bridge the gap between vocational education and academia and enable these people to unleash their talent and drive our economies forward?
Well, that's a question I can throw up to anybody on the panel. So who's going to be the first to volunteer that one?
I'll get that.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the key thing to start off with is that we have informed learners. And I think at the moment we don't necessarily have informed young people. And I think businesses need to take responsibility in a large part for that. And if they are passionate about vocational development, if you can get to the top of the organisation, having joined as an apprentice, as you can in a number of apprenticeship organisations, we need to be out there telling people that. Too often at the moment, you're absolutely right. You know, people are being driven down this academic route, and the simple fact is that, you know, in a large number of apprenticeship organisations, you can get to the top, but it comes back to the fact that I think employers need to be responsible for being very, very clear about what the reality of their business is, or the reality of the world of work is. You know, and so if you're saying, you know, you need to have a degree to become a manager, I'd absolutely say you don't have to have a degree to become a manager. You have to have common sense. You have to be able to work with people, lead people, and that doesn't necessarily come out of an academic institution such as a university. So, you know, businesses such as me, we need to stand up and be very clear about what the reality is.
Alison, is that your view?
Yeah, I think it's horses for courses. I've got a 19-year-old son, and I would never let him anywhere near hairdressing course because he'd just be disastrous. So I think you've got to make sure that students got decent advice and guidance, that they know the options available to them, that the schools are taking responsibility for that, and that students know that there's flexibility between routes and they're not locked into one route as they progress through. And it's very, very important to have that flexibility so that an apprentice can go back into full-time education, or somebody in full-time can go back into apprenticeship, and an A-level student does not feel that they have to go to higher education. They could go to a higher level apprenticeship. And you've got to have that decent advice and guidance. If we don't have that, we're stuck, really.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of talk about this idea that you can go faster into management, or you have to have a degree to go into management. We did a report called The Skills Economy recently, which was 1,200 employers across 26 different industries. And what was interesting about that, we asked the question, if you look at over the last 5 years, your apprenticeship programs, and you look at your sort of graduates coming in, how have they progressed through the organisation into management positions? And actually there was a faster rate and actually having more apprentices in management positions. And the reasons for that were twofold, really. A, they came in, they learnt the business culture, and they'd worked with people like in sort of mentorship, so they could progress quickly through that culture in the business. And secondly, they came in with the skills from day one. So they weren't coming there trying to learn the business; they were learning on the job and actually adding value to that business from day one. So I think actually there's a misnomer that you have to have a business degree or something like that to be a manager. You just have to be good and come into a business and actually add value and really understand what's going on in that business.
Thank you. I think our forum's getting really busy over here. I can just catch it with my eye on the right. I mean, there's questions coming all over the place, Aidan.
Yes, they're asking, can we talk a bit about the World Skills International member countries regions? How the World Skills International member countries regions use the World Skills competitions to benchmark their educational systems to others?
Go on then.
It's very strange asking the questions and then answering them yourself. I'm a slow learner, you see. I think that actually, interestingly, this is the 60th year of World Skills International. It started back in the 50s, and actually, the original concept, which was around Spain and Portugal, was about comparing and contrasting vocational education systems. They weren't called that in those days, but it was about doing that and using a competition forum to develop that concept. And that's true today. It's true as we go forward into every World Skills International competition, because it happens on a number of levels. If you imagine there are 45 or so skills competitions at a World Skills International competition, and if you imagine the youngsters taking part, 15 or 20 from different countries, just over the period of the 4 days which they compete in this highly pressurized, intense and honed skill environment, they learn an awful lot about each other and about the ways that they apply their skills. But actually there's another element which we haven't touched upon, or I haven't touched upon so far, and that is each of those young people comes with what we call in the UK a training manager, and worldwide they call it an expert. We're a little bit more reserved, shall we say. We call them training managers. And so they are like the mentor for each of the competitors. And on another level, they are also exchanging all of the ideas and information and experiences around their skills systems from their own countries. And we can take that to another level as well, because we are around the competition next year also looking to host a series of seminars and events, a conference program, including things like a skills ministers conference here at Excel, so that again we have exchanges of experiences around the vocational skills throughout the world. So that's really important for us as a World Skills family internationally, that we actually learn from competitors, and you know we are competitors as well on an economic stage, but actually we learn together, and standards don't stand still, and we have to, although we progress, of course other countries progress, and that's good for everyone as a whole. So that's also a really important aspect, obviously highlighted particularly from our youth forum participants in Jamaica, who have that high on their agenda as well.
Can I throw that back to the audience? Has anybody got any comments to make about what Aidan just said?
Yeah, Phil Hope, I was the former skills minister, and I won't respond to some of your comments about previous government policy, Theo, if you forgive me.
Oh, you can, honest. We could do with livening up the debate a little bit. Please, go for it.
We only trebled apprenticeships between 97 and 2010, but anyway, that's... The reason I'm standing up, actually, is because one of the things, when I was skills minister between 2005 and 2007, was the thing that frustrated me the most was when every summer our media would absolutely celebrate every A-level student ripping open their A-level results. You'd be there in the morning at 8 o'clock at the school. The whole thing would go out through the whole of the day, and everyone would say, isn't it absolutely brilliant? You know, the grades have gone up and so on. And one of the reasons I was very keen that we backed world skills and skills competitions, because we didn't have exactly the same kind of thing going on for skills. How could we get our media to really do, which touches on the points earlier about raising young people's aspirations and parents' attitudes, to celebrate and recognise and value skills and skills qualifications and the pathway of skills into university and into businesses in the way that we did somehow seem to be doing them with A-levels. And I think world skills, for me, is absolutely critical. So my question is really about how we can do something with our media to make sure that over the next year, and I don't know, I mean, there must be lots of plans in foot, and I see some years ago since I was responsible for this, to really make sure that we have Sky Sports 1, 2 and 3. Why haven't we got Sky Skills? I mean, what are we going to do to really get our media switched on? Because that will give the profile to the businesses, give the profile to the parents and the children, and put skills where they deserve to be, celebrated and valued, because our media, many of whom haven't come through a skills route into their qualifications, the radio broadcasters, the television broadcasters, the written media, to follow these young people who are out in Jamaica, celebrating their individual stories and all the, you know, the life tragedies, the things they've been through, to get to be the very best in the world in the way that Adam is. And Adam, it was great to see just that sense of, you know, we've got the best chef in the world. I mean, our media, I just want to say, so that's my question really, to piggyback the point, was what are we going to be doing to make sure, I hope there's lots of media here today.
You've stolen my thunder.
To really celebrate these next 12 months. This is our moment when we put the importance of skills and the talent of our young people right centre stage, and making sure next summer, as well as celebrating all the young people ripping over their A-level qualifications, we've got wall-to-wall coverage of our young people.
Well, let me put it back to you. You've stolen my thunder a little bit. I'm going to put it straight back to you on that one, because, I mean, we have got the young plumber, haven't we, on BBC? I don't know what channel that's on. Someone will tell me. Is it BBC? BBC. And we've got a butcher as well. Haven't we got the young butcher? Yeah. So, you know, isn't that not something we should... I mean, we're getting there, but really, really slow. BBC Three, by the way, is a great, great channel, because the demographics... No, seriously, the demographics of BBC Three are fantastic, because they are all about the youngsters. And it's about, you know, public service broadcasting being at its best, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I agree with you. And I think we have moved. Certainly we've moved from where I was, 2005, when I went to Finland and saw the phenomenal... 2007 I went to Finland and saw the phenomenal skills there, but we got absolutely sort of very small coverage. We even had to sort of pay for coverage in the papers to tell people how well we'd done in Finland. I just want to make sure that we've really got all our ducks in a row this time, with the World Skills Championships happening in this country, to make sure that all of our media over the next 12 months, you know, I can't, the Olympics, we're going to have the world's media here watching people throw a pointed stick, you know, 100 metres. And it will be worldwide and global, and it will be magnificent. And yet, watch somebody caring for somebody, because there's a care skills competition. Watch somebody build a stonemason, turn a block of granite into something miraculous. If you ask me what's more important, I'll tell you it's that, and I'd really like to see our media reflect that over the next 12 months.
Adam, thank you for that. That was excellent. That's exactly the point. I mean, there is a lack of exposure. We all know there's a lack of exposure. It is happening. I mean, as we said, there's some peripheral programs starting to appear, and of course we have got that the Apprentice, I think it's called. No, I'm only joking. But that's not quite where we're at with that one. But Adam, what sort of exposure did you have when you won?
There's sort of very little. It's euphoric when you're at the World Skills competition and you've got everyone behind you, and then it's quite strange when you come back and it's flat. There's nothing. But what I did think was fantastic, a couple of years ago, I think when the team went to Japan, the Sun did a lovely double-page spread and really big pictures of everybody and their skills, and that for me was some major breakthrough. And then even one day when I've seen World Skills things advertised on the tube, and then when you see it in the metro, it is just a big step. You know, we wouldn't have seen anything, you know, a year or two ago. So,
right, just keep yourself warm there, because it's another question that's going to come straight back to you, and that's from Julia Smith. Where's Julia? Julia, you're still with us? Yes, you are. There we are. I think you fit in here.
You don't think I fit in?
I do think you fit in. I think you're right on the button here.
I wanted to ask Adam to share with us some of the journey from Melbourne and to now, and just how much he's put back in, and what we can perhaps learn from him.
I think the day I got the phone call, would I be interested in going to Melbourne to help with the bid process, I thought, oh, that sounds very exciting and very important. And then the realisation hit me that I'd have to cook for so many people day in, day out. But it was almost like a second run of World Skills for me, because you could see the same people, you could see the intensity, you could see the focus, but this was the delegates from around the world that make the competition happen. So it was a very, very passionate organisation of people. But for me this time, there was a lot more at stake than just getting a medal, because it was whether it would bring the competition to London. And it's in the time of arriving in Melbourne, it suddenly, the importance just grew and grew and grew. And it suddenly meant for me that the more delegates I could get to eat our food in the UK stand, the greater the chance it was. So,
well, Aidan, you did a fantastic job, because obviously none of them were actually ill. We obviously were successful. But I'm going to cross to Aidan now. And what's the legacy? What's the legacy for London?
Well, the legacy for London and the legacy for the UK as a whole is exactly the sorts of things we've been talking about this afternoon and this evening. You know, the changed perception, the increased value and recognition given to vocational skills, a better balance in terms of the choices available to young people. All of the things that we talked about this afternoon are what the legacy is all about. It's incredibly important. It can be possible to simply hone in on the nuts and bolts of an event and focus on that. And it's terribly important for me and my team to remember that there is a much, much bigger impact here. Yes, the event has to be well organised, well run and be successful, but actually what we're ultimately trying to do is change people's attitudes to vocational skills. And how we do that, from what is the core of a competition through to have-a-go activities for those people who visit, information and guidance, showcasing, conference program around it, media coverage, all of these things, layers and layers and layers, is really important for us. So we cannot, and I cannot, just hone in and look at the nuts and bolts of a competition and an event. It's much bigger than that, because that's how we create the legacy and the impact.
Thank you. It's a great answer, but I'm just going to ask John Atree. Is it John Atree? Now you've got a question.
Thank you very much. Totally non-political question. This
All our questions, by the way, are non-political. It's anybody who's
Absolutely.
offended by some of my earlier statements. I'm apolitical. I think they're all rubbish. No. So trust me, any statement I make is not partisan in any way.
Apolitical, that's fine. We've heard quite a bit from the new coalition government about the so-called bonfire of the Quangos, and I thought I'd be interested to hear the panel's views on what effect such a bonfire might have on skills profile, skills investment, skills policy. Any comments on that? Gratefully received.
Jeff, it must be you.
No comment. Well, actually, the truth is the deficit that we find ourselves in, and the government's reaction to that, in part by saying, well, let's spend less money on Quangos, I think is going to lead us to a better solution. Somebody said earlier today, we need to maximize the amount of money going to learning. That, I'm afraid, applies both to the deliverers of skills, but also to the funders and regulators. So actually, I'm pretty optimistic that both for us as a funder regulator, but also for the sector, we're going to come out of this stronger and better and cheaper, and that can't be a bad thing. It's just not, like all these things, it's not going to be easy.